Republicans are trying to steal the 2026 midterm election by gerrymandering the shit out of Texas. And what are Democrats doing to stop that? Well, let's see what Governor Pritzker has to say on the issue. All right, this is Brian Tyler Cohen on his show interviewing Governor Pritzker just 2 days ago.
Now they're looking at Texas. So all across the country, they have been able to wield this weapon against Democrats, and it's largely been met with a refusal to actually act. Well, now it's happening in such an egregious way that it may actually be the reason that even in what we expect 2026 to be, which is a wave year, Republicans might be able to actually retain power of the House or retain their majority in the House by virtue of these gerrymanders. And so from your vantage, in terms of what you're able to do in Illinois, are you willing to fight fire with fire here and respond in a commensurate way if indeed we see Greg Abbott engage in a partisan gerrymander in Texas?
Well, I appreciate the question. I'll begin my answer by saying I've been on team fight since I first got elected in 2018. I really believe, we have to make choices right now about whether you're going to be on team fight or team cave. And the Republicans are using frankly, everything, whether it's cheating, breaking the law, trying to do things that I think are non-traditional. And we Democrats can't live by the old rules. We've got to live by the rules, but we've also got to react and fight. And so when I think about what they're trying to do in Texas, and by the way, they're also trying to do it next door to me here in Missouri, next door to Illinois, and other places. I think, historically that's, midstream redistricting was not something that we Democrats would do. But if they force us, we've got to put everything on the table. We've got to make decisions that maybe we wouldn't have made before. And so that's why I'm on the team here. I think that governors across the country that have the ability, maybe it's the ones where we've got trifectas, we've got to do everything we can to stand up to what Donald Trump and Greg Abbott are trying to do. I'm not going to countenance anymore the idea that we're going to sit around and watch them do it and complain from the sidelines when we have the ability to stop them.
And so, we're kind of in the world of hypotheticals, but the reality is that the special legislative session was already called in Texas. They are meeting right now in Texas. There's no indication, at least as of right now, that they're stepping back. And so if Greg Abbott continues on exactly the path that we're in right now, would it be fair to say, to the extent that you can say definitively, that you would be willing to fight fire with fire and look toward calling, I don't know what the process would be in Illinois, but calling a legislative session to do exactly what they're doing in Texas and what Gavin Newsom has said that he'd be willing to do in California?
Yeah, like I said, everything's on the table. It's why I've spoken up about it. It's why I met with the Texas legislators. They walked in the door, and I know that they were here in Chicago to convince me. But before they opened their mouths, I said, "You had me at hello." And so I've been at this fight for a very long time. Again, when I got elected in 2018, but also just days after Donald Trump got reelected in last November. I said, if you come for my people, you come through me. And I was saying that to Donald Trump. And I have fought every step of the way and almost been disappointed at how long it's taken many other Democrats who understand what's at stake here, but to get on to team fight.
Something that stood out to me about his answer there is the fact that he answers it pretty straightforward in that he doesn't beat around the bush like most politicians do. I felt like he did a good job of answering the question and saying that it's on the table, that we're not like, oh, we're gonna, blah blah. Like, I think he did a good job of answering, saying that, like, yeah, this is actually what we're gonna be doing. I wish that he would maybe have gone into it more and actually said like that we're actually working on it. But I mean, at least he said that he's, how I see it is at least he said that he's willing to go that route at least. So I guess I'll take that for now. All right, now this is Brian Tyler Cohen again. He had a one-on-one interview with Governor Gavin Newsom, and this was 5 days ago. He also directly asked Gavin Newsom, what are we doing with this whole Texas gerrymandering thing, and what's California going to do to counter this? Are they interested in doing gerrymandering as well? And let's take a look what Gavin Newsom says.
Texas is looking to gerrymander those maps even further. So first and foremost, what is the state of possible mid-cycle redistricting right now?
In California, we have an independent redistricting, which I supported. I was one of the few Democrats at the time that publicly supported it, elected Democrats at the time, to move away from partisan gerrymandering, which should happen. And the point we made then, when it was on the ballot, was it should happen all across the United States.
Right.
That didn't happen, hasn't taken shape. And so what's happened is now we're at a disadvantage. We're trying to play by one set of rules, and these folks on the other side have played by a completely different set of rules. So much so that the President of the United States called Greg Abbott and told him, in essence, find 5 additional seats so we can rig the election next year and maintain the power and authority with the House of Representatives, which de facto amounts to no power, no authority, complete capitulation, so Trump can continue to run roughshod over our rights and liberties.
So what are the options presented to us right now? I know that there's going to be some legal hurdles that if push comes to shove we'll have to look at. But what's on the table as of right now?
So right now the most important caucus is the delegation of Democratic representatives in the state of California that would have their districts changed mid-decade. Then, number 2, we need to get 2/3 of our California legislature to put it on the ballot to create a special election. And then 3, the ultimate authority will be vested in the people of the state of California that would have to make the determination of whether or not we should continue to play by one set of rules as these guys continue to rig the game and play by a wholly different set of rules. So that's one process. The second one is a legislative process. Independent of the independent redistricting, there's a novel legal theory that it's silent about redistricting sort of mid-decade, mid-census. And so on that basis, it would be to test that theory. It would be an easier path in some respect, but it's also a path that wouldn't necessarily give voice and choice to the public. And so I have my own preferred path, but the legislature will ultimately make the determination.
Can those two things happen concurrently? This way, if one fails at the courts or whatever it may be, then you at least have another process you can look at?
Look, conceivably that's the case. We're in session right now, so I don't need to call a special session, which is good. And as a consequence of that, the legislature will kick the tires and relates to these options and make the best judgment they possibly can. The cleanest path, I think, just being candid with folks, the cleanest path would be to go back in front of the voters to make the case that things have radically changed since the last time this was presented in front of the voters. And as a consequence, we need to change. They would recognize the stakes as it relates to Texas. We can, in essence, likely neuter the total number of districts that Trump is looking to get with Abbott in rigging those maps here in the state of California. Hope other governors consider doing similar things. You've got to fight fire with fire.
All right, folks, that was Governor Newsom responding to the whole gerrymandering situation and whether or not he's open to this. And I think that his response was very filling. And you can go watch the full interview actually on Brian Tyler Cohen's channel on YouTube. Just look him up. Awesome dude. But yeah, let me know what you guys think. It seems like the general consensus among progressives is that yes, we would like to fight fire with fire and do gerrymandering as well, especially in California. But what do you like about Pritzker and Newsom's responses? Do you think that they are actually in it to win it and that they answer these questions appropriately? Let me know what you guys think down in the comments. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe for more. Thank you very much for watching.